How much distance do you think there is between the history that has been told to us and the history that actually happened? Could the sacred texts in our hands really have reached us completely unchanged from their very first form? What if the book you know today as a single volume actually lived for many years as scattered fragments? Were angels only spiritual beings? Were jinn merely invisible elements of belief? And the phrase, "what comes from the heavens," was it only symbolic? What does the word "we" really mean in the Qur'an? What kind of narrative structure stands behind this language? And perhaps the most fundamental question of all, have we known this text directly through its own content, or mostly through what has been told to us about it? Now, together, we will approach the Qur'an's emergence, its relationship with earlier sacred texts, its understanding of angels, jinn, and the heavens, its social system, sects, and its connection to science, with a balanced, multi-perspective, and information-based view. If you are ready, let us begin from the very start. According to Islamic tradition, the Qur'an was revealed to the Prophet Muhammad gradually over a period of approximately 23 years through the angel Gabriel. During this process, part of the revelations were memorized, and part were recorded on leather, bones, stones, and leaves. At that time, Arab society was primarily shaped by oral culture. Knowledge was preserved through memory. Written documentation was limited, and systematic archiving had not yet developed. After the death of the Prophet Muhammad, a critical concern emerged: the preservation of the Qur'an. Many of the memorizers of the Qur'an lost their lives in battles. What remained were human memory and scattered written fragments. This situation initiated the first official compilation process. The first formal compilation took place during the Caliphate of Abu Bakr. The task was entrusted to Zayd ibn Thabit, one of the scribes of Revelation. The method was as follows. Written fragments were collected. They were compared with the memorization of the reciters. Only the verses confirmed by the testimony of 2 individuals were included in the compiled manuscript. This first codex is reported to have passed from Abu Bakr to Umar, and later to Umar's daughter, Hafsa. During the Caliphate of Uthman, differences in recitation and writing began to appear across various regions. In order to prevent dispute and division, Uthman ordered the production of a single official codex. Other copies were collected and removed. The newly standardized manuscript became the primary reference. According to classical sources, the original manuscript preserved by Hafsa was later eliminated by Marwan ibn al-Hikam in accordance with the new writing system. As a result, the text known today as the Uthmanic Codex became the foundational version of the Qur'an. The Qur'an consists of 114 chapters and displays a remarkable degree of narrative repetition. The story of Moses, for example, is narrated repeatedly in different contexts. His struggle with Pharaoh, the Exodus, the experience at Mount Sinai, and the episode of the golden calf appear across multiple chapters with similar structures. The stories of Abraham, Lot, the people of Ad and Thamud, as well as descriptions of heaven and hell, follow a similar repetitive pattern. Classical interpretation explains this repetition as a pedagogical method suited to oral tradition and as a means of reinforcing key messages across different contexts. The Torah and the Gospel are frequently mentioned in the Qur'an. Both are described as revelations from God containing guidance and light. The Qur'an presents itself not as a total rejection of these scriptures, but as a confirmation of their divine origin. The criticism introduced concerns not the existence of these texts, but the distortion of their meaning by certain religious authorities. For this reason, the concept of corruption is discussed academically in 2 dimensions: the possible alteration of the text itself, and the distortion of its interpretation. This debate continues to this day. One of the most distinctive linguistic features of the Qur'an is the use of the pronouns I, we, and he. In some verses, divine speech appears in the first person singular. In others, it appears in the first person plural. And in others, God is referred to in the third person. Traditional interpretation understands the plural form as an expression of majesty. Some scholars also consider it to represent the role of the angelic assembly in transmitting divine action. This layered language remains a central topic of both theological and linguistic study. The Surah of the Jinn contains one of the most striking metaphysical descriptions in the Qur'an. It describes how the Jinn once attempted to reach the heavens, found places from which they could listen, and later discovered that the heavens were guarded by powerful sentinels and flaming projectiles. Classical exegesis interprets these projectiles as meteors or metaphysical defenses. Modern interpretations, however, sometimes draw parallels with concepts of cosmic defense systems. Such readings remain speculative and lie outside classical consensus. The chapter named Najm, meaning star, includes a reference commonly associated with the star Sirius. The same chapter critiques the worship of the pagan deities Lat, Uzza, and Manat. It rejects the idea of seeking intercession from angels and emphasizes that intercession belongs to God alone. Some modern researchers compare these figures with ancient Mesopotamian goddess traditions. However, such associations are based on comparative mythology rather than direct textual statements. The Qur'an states, "He created the heavens and the earth, and the living beings spread throughout both." Classical interpretations generally understand this as a reference to earthly life. Some contemporary readers expand the meaning to include the possibility of extraterrestrial life. Here, the text opens a field of interpretation rather than offering a definitive claim. The destruction of ancient communities such as Ad, Thamud, and the people of Lot is depicted through powerful imagery. Violent sound, tremors, showers of stones, and the overturning of cities. Classical interpretation views these events as manifestations of divine punishment. Modern perspectives may associate them with natural disasters, yet it is important to distinguish between the text's original description and contemporary reinterpretation. The Qur'an's legal and social rulings reflect the structure of 7th century Arabian society. These include regulations on marriage, divorce, inheritance, polygamy, and slavery. The permission for up to 4 wives, the system of concubinage, and gender-based inheritance laws are all understood within their historical context. Descriptions of heaven featuring companions and youthful attendants are likewise interpreted symbolically within the imaginative framework of the time. While the Qur'an strongly emphasizes unity and warns against division, political conflicts in early Islamic history produced lasting sectarian formations. The period of the 4 caliphs, the battles of the Camel and Siffin, and the Umayyad and Abbasid eras played a defining role in the emergence of Islamic schools and sects. The Qur'an defines itself primarily as guidance, reminder, and warning. It does not present itself as a scientific textbook. Nevertheless, some verses have historically been associated with astronomy, geology, and embryology, giving rise to the concept of scientific miracles. Within academic circles, this approach remains widely debated. When all of these perspectives are considered together, the Qur'an appears as a product of an oral-to-written revelation tradition, a text deeply connected with previous scriptures, a multi-layered account of angels, Jinn, and the cosmos. A detailed system reflecting its historical social order, and a book that calls for unity while existing within a history of division. It is not merely a book of belief, but also a text of history, culture, and thought. It does not only offer answers, it generates questions. In this chapter, we approach the Qur'an not only as a sacred scripture, but also as a historical and intellectual document. In the next chapter, we may focus exclusively on the cosmology of angels and jinn, or on the political roots of sectarian division, or on a direct comparative analysis between the Torah, the Gospel, and the Qur'an. Thank you for listening. You can support me by subscribing to my channel and liking it. See you in the next video.